Welcome everybody to my channel. Hope you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you so much to the Rookery for hosting us today. They've done me a massive favour. Shout out to Darren, who is behind somewhere. Guys, thank you so much. Now, obviously, joining me today, two beautiful faces. The first time we've ever done something on camera in the same room before. Yes, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, man. Thank you for having me on the channel. I watched the first video, did really well, but
thank you,
yeah, it's good to be here.
Yes, thank you again. Thank you guys so much for your love on that. Henry Hill.
Yes.
Haven't seen you in a little while, have I?
I'm back, baby. On your little screens. Yeah. No, it's good. Thank you very much for having me on. Obviously I'm not working at Football Daily anymore, so going freelance. so yeah.
How much am I paying you?
Nothing.
Yeah, you've just come down from Liverpool as well. Literally 3 hours ago, you were in Liverpool city centre.
Yes. You know what? It was a real bucket list item to go to Anfield. It is really cool.
What was the atmosphere like?
It wasn't great, I won't lie. I mean, when they turned it on in the second half, I'm a Fulham fan. I was in the Fulham end, so I was really enjoying that. Especially when we scored, I couldn't believe it. I love Willian. What a guy. The second half when they kind of turned it on a bit, that's actually when it got going. But I mean, it was just quite cool when you sit, because you're quite low down and you turn around, you look up, and it's such an impressive big stand and all the heads going up there. And I've got to be honest, we were in a pub beforehand, with Liverpool fans and Fulham fans all together. It was a really nice atmosphere. I think everyone was just excited. And
you reckon you can bring back a second leg?
2-1's not a bad defeat. It's annoying that it fell away in the short period of time that it did. But I reckon. I mean, look, Craven Cottage, even that can get going when it wants to. So I think this is a huge opportunity for Middlesbrough and for Fulham to get to a major final, and it's going to mean more for Fulham to get to a final than it is for Liverpool. It depends. We create opportunities against them every time.
Well, we don't need to talk about Middlesbrough just yet. I'm sure we might touch upon that later on. Now, as you guys have seen by the title, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest transfers that have already happened and the rumours that are currently going around this January. We're going to kick things off with a transfer that's already happened. Someone that I used to love dearly, Timo Werner, who has gone to Tottenham Hotspur on loan with an option of around £18 million to buy him in the summer. Currently at RB Leipzig. Obviously, he's been at RB Leipzig now for 2 years since leaving Chelsea. This season hasn't gone so well. He's had a few injuries. He started the first game of the season, then became a bench option, had a bunch of injuries. I think he started another one in October-ish, but generally hasn't been used that much. Now, the way we're going to do this is, do we think this transfer would be a hit, or is it going to be a miss as well? So that's what we'll kind of rank it as afterwards as well. But Timo Werner, Henry, we've seen him kind of fail in the Premier League once. How do you think he's going to fare this time?
I really like this move. I've got no issues with it whatsoever. Let's bear in mind that Son is going to the Asian Cup. Richarlison is their next kind of striker, as it were. Brennan Johnson, is he injured at the moment? I'm not sure.
He's back from injury. I think he's back from injury.
He's shown flashes. Right, He's shown flashes at moments. I think to get a really experienced head in, it's a 6-month loan, bear in mind. Yeah. They don't have to exercise that 19 million.
Which also isn't that much nowadays.
If he really succeeds, if he delivers on what you expect him to, that's a bargain.
Yes, absolutely. He's got experience. The only reason he's not in that Leipzig side is because they're flush with really good attackers. And I even think last year he played quite well for them when he was back there. Yeah, as I said, experienced. He can really good at playing sort of the way that Ange will want to play, like lightning football. He's that guy in the final third. I know we haven't quite seen... It's been a while since we've seen that Werner that really stunned us during the early years.
Nagelsmann really had him on some crazy form.
Absolutely. But I just think, bear in mind, they don't really have any other options up front. And I imagine they're playing with a bit of a budget. I think this is a really, really smart move. He's got something to prove as well. He'll enjoy being back in London. Yeah, for a player and for the club, I don't see a problem with this whatsoever.
It was a weird one with Timo, because even though I think he had an XG of 19 goals in one season and scored 10 or 9 or so, Chelsea fans never it might change now, obviously, that he's moved to Spurs, but Chelsea fans never really got kind of against him. I think Chelsea fans have always been quite good at as long as a player shows they're giving full effort and running tirelessly for the club and doing as much as he can, whilst he might not have scored the goals, they do back him. I never ever saw people get really, really angry. Obviously, there'd be
to be fair, when you describe Timo Werner, I would say that is what you're guaranteed. You're guaranteed work rate, and you're guaranteed relentless running in behind.
Which is why you mentioning Anne just the perfect fit. And I don't think Timo Werner is going to be getting 9 goals for Spurs. But if he can get 4, if he can get 5...
I think it's the dream move for Ange in theory. And that's kind of my issue with Timo Werner at times, is that the idea sometimes is actually better than the reality. I look at someone like Darwin Nunez, and I think Darwin Nunez, for me, I would rather have him than Werner, because in terms of being an athlete, I think he's just a bit more physically dominant. Yeah. But Werner, in terms of like the running in behind, he stretches defenses. You look at the Champions League winning goal that you guys scored. Okay, it's Mount, it's Havertz, but it's also Werner's run that disrupts the entire defense. So if you kind of have that with a Son when he comes back, with a Richarlison, then he will create more chances for Spurs. But I don't know, man. It's always like that. If he starts firing, if those goals start going in, if that XG is delivered, then you have a good player there.
I think the difference, right, is Chelsea, when they got him, paid £52 million for
the expectation was
Spurs
different.
have a 6-month loan where I think they're paying his wages. I think it's like £2 million fee for the loan. In today's day and age, that really isn't that bad.
He also wasn't played in the same position that he was played in at Leipzig. Like at Leipzig, he started out on the left. He had space in front of him. He didn't do that much game involvement, actually. But then, as you say, when he was released and relentless running in behind, at Chelsea, he was asked to be a bit more of like he was asked to play more football, really. He was asked to have his back to the goal a bit more. He was asked to knock it around to other players. And I just don't think the style of football at Chelsea ever really suited his addition. So, I hopefully Ange will have recognised that. He's got like the best out of a lot of players, Basuma, etc., who were perhaps, undervalued by previous managers. And I think Werner too. He just needs, he does seem like a guy that plays with confidence. He needs a loving arm around him. And clearly the atmosphere at Spurs could be kind of perfect for him.
No, okay, I think we can agree there. A hit. I think it's going to be a hit. Look, when it's a loan move, it can't be too bad. Let's move over then to Germany, where Timo Werner's just come from. There's two players that we'll touch upon that are going to this club, Borussia Dortmund. Let's kick off with Jadon Sancho. Now, because this season hasn't gone well. Manchester United time hasn't really gone too well. This season, the worst of them all. He came off the bench 3 times at the beginning of the season, and then he had the comments that kind of fell out with Erik ten Hag. How do you see this move playing out? Does he ever play for Man United again?
I mean, it really plays out one of two ways, right? Either he really flops at Dortmund, and this was kind of like an issue I had when Lukaku went back to Inter, because you were in a situation where, okay, we know what you can do at Inter. We've seen you flop in the Premier League. You going to Inter, even if you succeed massively, it's not really showing us anything we didn't know. But if Sancho flops at Dortmund, it's devastating for his career, because then it's 2 clubs now where obviously he's not succeeded, and maybe doubts continue creeping in about his work ethic and training, which we've already heard some noise from guys like Nemanja Matic. But it could go another way, and he could absolutely kill it over there like he did the first time. It makes Man United look absolutely ridiculous, and it kind of puts him back on the map as one of Europe's premier young talents. Because let's not forget, this is still a young player with bundles of ability, bundles of talent, has shown in front of goal, creating chances, he can be one of the best statistically in Europe. So yeah, it can go one of two ways. I'm hoping for his own sake that it does, because look, man, although it's been a frustrating period at Man United, there's no doubt that this guy is still a world-class talent. There's no doubt about it, in my opinion. But it's the application, and can the right manager get him in the right system with the right players around him to really start firing again?
Well, there's no option in the deal either, is there? So, like, essentially, whatever happens, he comes back to Manchester United. And do you see
one last thing, by the way, I think his idea in terms of that too is, I'm sure he's looking at Erik ten Hag and thinking, can I outlast this guy?
Very true. Yeah, 100%. Very true. And then if he has a good 6 months, the new manager coming in thinks, wow, okay, I've got a nice little
100%.
player here. And we look at that right wing position for United now, and it's very
I can't believe that.
Good.
Anthony, they're going to be left with like him as one of the main. It's to lose.
I can't believe it.
It's a shame. But Dortmund really need a lift too. They're 6 games without a win. Rumours like Royce has had to come out and say they're not turning against Terzic. Terzic has a really good relationship with Sancho. He's been like the real instigator with getting him back into Germany. So yeah, this is a big move for Dortmund too, who are in danger of like dropping out, not just the title race, but the top 4 are so fluid in Germany at the moment. Like they need a lift. And yeah, if it makes sense for Sancho, but as you say, like if this goes wrong for Manchester United, it's just another kind of mud in their face situation.
And also for Sancho, I think for a lot of these players, they'll be thinking, obviously the Euros coming up. Sancho hasn't been in the England team for a while now, and
since the Euros,
so.
Since the last Euros,
exactly.
I think.
Exactly.
It's nowhere near.
And he must think, look, at my time, I need to kind of get something. I need to be playing football some way.
I was going to say, I don't even think it's the Euros for him, to be honest with you. I think at this point in his career, he needs to be back playing regularly consistent football. And 100%.
And well, look, Dortmund are going to be interesting because they've got quite a. We've seen Malin kind of speak out how he doesn't want to play out on that right wing for them. Adeyemi is now injured at the moment. Bino Gittins is obviously super young. So is Yusuf Makuko as well. So it's going to be interesting for him. How do you feel then it's going to go? A hit or a miss? Again, I feel like a loan move from a Dortmund, because we are going to be looking at this maybe more for a player side of view. Surely it's a hit because he's going to be playing at least somewhat more minutes than he would at United currently.
I would say, it's a hit. I mean, like the situation that United has gotten so toxic, not even in match day squads anymore. I think, it has to be a hit.
Yeah. I can agree with that. Or you think
he hasn't played much football? It's a lot to ask a player just to.
That's what I mean. Really, for him, just playing football alone is a hit.
And it's not even just that. Like, it's not as if he's injured. He's been in such like a bad state in terms of literally shunned from the squad by a manager. Like, it's quite a lot to come back from. But I'm hoping, the familiarity of being in Dortmund, hopefully that environment around players that he remembers and whatnot, with that crowd behind him, hopefully it could be a hit. But I can see this going a little bit wrong.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Now, another player that's going to Dortmund on loan with a possible option in his new contract. This isn't just for Dortmund, this is for any club to buy him in the summer, is Ian Maatsen. Now, Chelsea rejected a £31.5 million bid in the summer from Burnley. Basically, Chelsea accepted it, actually, and then he rejected it, which is interesting. I think this is someone, though, that I think probably looked at the position that was available and thought he'd been playing right wing in pre-season for Chelsea. And God, if you look at him now, surely you still think, how's he not got more minutes?
Yeah.
Chilwell's injured. Cucurella's injured. And Colwell's playing left back, which hasn't been working out for him really too much either. I can't blame him for taking a move to Dortmund. Obviously, they've currently got Rami Benzebaini, who we know.
My guy.
Obviously, AFCON's happening as well at the moment.
Yeah, there you
too.
go.
So they do need kind of someone to fill in that left back position. And so I can understand completely. I think for everyone, this works out. Another kind of hit move. But I do sit here and I do struggle to understand why he hasn't played already for Chelsea, Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I thought in the summer when he had such a good pre-season, didn't he? With Chelsea, I thought
played right wing in pre-season. That's what was really odd.
He'd clearly endeared himself enough to the club to Pochettino that like if he was going to stay, he was going to be part of the team. He was going to get more minutes. I'm surprised too. This Dortmund move actually goes back to Guerrero going to.
I was just about to say that.
To Bayern Munich, because really Benzebaini is a great player, but he's not actually a like-for-like replacement for him. He's a much more defensive-minded left back, and there's even been rumblings that he's been looking for a move away. It hasn't quite been sort of a match made in heaven, him at Dortmund. So this actually Maatsen fits the profile of Guerrero much more than Benzebaini does. So I think that actually it really works for a Dortmund sense. But I'm surprised too. Like if you consider some of the players at Chelsea that have been getting minutes across the squad, a lot of the young guys coming through. It's the fact that he's sort of been shunned from that.
I was talking to Zach about this beforehand. I think when you kind of look at the investments that Chelsea have made in the likes of Disasi, Badia, Shield, they've kind of made this promise as well to Levi Colwill that you will be a regular member in this team. I almost look at Pochettino, and love him or hate him, he probably has a bit of pressure to play these guys no matter what, where the easy option is to kind of just put the young academy kid on the bench. So that could be an issue. But I think for Maatsen, this could be a really good move for him because you look at the Bundesliga, it's been brilliant for young players from the Premier League to kind of go there, ply their trade, get regular minutes, and come back a more ready-made first-team player.
I would not be shocked if in, say, 3 years' time, we sit here and we go, it's another one Chelsea have let go of, who has turned out to be one of the incredible fullback going forward. This is someone who loves going forward. Who said played right wing for Chelsea in pre-season. At Burnley, he's more of a left wing back rather than a fullback. Going forward is his game.
Yeah, and that'll thrive in the Bundesliga. To be honest.
And again, this is someone that's got to think about his Euros career too for the Netherlands. Like if he's not getting any minutes at all right now, he's not going to get picked.
There's also a huge opportunity for him in that left back wing back role for the Netherlands because that's where Daley Blind is playing at the moment. Like. He is slow. I mean, great player, don't get me wrong. But yeah, Maatsen, if he nails this, as you say, this is a huge boost for him ahead of the Euros.
It wouldn't shock me. And look, it'd be interesting to see what that option is for the summer because he has signed a new contract now that keeps him at Chelsea until 2027. So it's going to be interesting to see what the option is in the summer for any permanent move. And obviously, if things work out at Dortmund, who knows? Maybe even a Dortmund move could be fantastic for his career. Let's then talk about, again, I'm going to go with hit on that one.
Easily.
The guy's not playing. The guy's not playing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about someone. It's not happened yet. It's not happened for 5 years.
It might never happen.
It might never happen at this point. Very good point. Kylian Mbappe. We saw a bunch of things kind of happen over really 48 hours this week, or the last week or so. 1 minute he was going to be staying at PSG. He's rejected a move to Real Madrid. Doesn't want to go there. Might think about the Premier League. Then within 24 hours, he's not going to do that. He's going to not accept his loyalty bonus, and Real Madrid could be the place for him to go. If not Real Madrid, then a move to the Premier League is something that we could see. That loyalty bonus was about 70 million quid as well. So interesting to see whether that happens or not. He is a free agent in the summer. I mean, again, I feel like we speak about this story all the time. So we won't spend too much on it, but what do we think's actually going to happen here?
I think he's going to Real Madrid, to be honest with you, man. And honestly, at this point, I hope he goes to Real Madrid because I'm just tired of seeing this saga every 2 years.
Go to Real Madrid.
Get it done.
I mean, I think if it was any other player, we could say that. But when you are talking about someone who I personally believe is the best player in the world, or at least the best talent in the world, it's natural that the buzz is kind of consistently around him. And you just look at the team that Real Madrid are kind of building at the moment. Endrick, Vinny, Bellingham, Arda Güler coming in. They're building a platform for the best young players in the world to kind of come and grow into this next Galactico team the next decade. And I'm sure Perez has envisioned Mbappe being the figurehead of that for the last 5 years. And I think it's just natural, man. The best players in the world play in that white and gold kit. So hopefully it happens.
I do tend to agree. The only thing is, I just can see Mbappe ending up being like this PSG legend who, after years and years
man.
of
Get out of
like wanting
PSG,
to
man.
leave, I think for his career and for him to be one of the worst things, I think, if every football fan understands that Mbappe is one of the most talented people in the world, what I think people always keep going back to is but he's in Ligue 1. He's in Ligue 1. But I do want to question nowadays whether how Ligue 1 isn't as bad of a league as it used to be back in the day. If anything, you see a lot of young players get out of it and rise to become superstars. Just look at that Real Madrid squad for like Camavinga and Tchouaméni and others who have come out.
I get the sense from Al Khalifi that they're just exhausted. It's just every year having to address this, the media. It's so dull. Like even Mbappe, he surely must be getting embarrassed at this point at all this like speculation.
Well, I mean, he gets embarrassed and then they hand him the paycheck and he's like, okay, my embarrassment didn't last that long.
Do you not think PSG though would like? I always wonder as a club though. Do you not think that they think like we need to get something for him?
Well, here's the thing too, right? In PSG, people maybe don't even realize this, but the amount of power that they've given him, knowing that he could leave any summer, they've given him the armband. They've taken off Marquinhos and given it to Mbappe. Yeah. They've basically made him responsible for all transfers. Neymar leaving in the summer was something that Mbappe wanted a summer previously. The signings that he's making in the form of Dembele, a close friend of his, Kolo Muani, a close friend of his. He's almost assembled this team. He's basically the owner of this club. And when you give a player that much, responsibility and like burden, and he's still teasing a move every single summer, as a PSG fan, I'd be absolutely sick of it.
I agree. I also think almost PSG, just almost let him go at this point, because then you've got Xavi Simons who's going to come back from his loan deal. You can
forget about that.
You can make him. He's so good. He is so good.
He's great.
And you have Zaire Emery in there already. Yep.
Exactly. There is a core of this French youth which they're talking about, which they can really build on. And whatever the money they'll save and the wages for Mbappe, whatever they can invest that. I mean, money's not really an object to this club. Let's remember.
Very true.
They can go out. They can go out and. The problem is they've just not been as good this year as we were hoping them to be with the additions that they've made. I was really excited by Gonzalo Ramos, by Kolo Muani. In moments, sure, but still,
Dembele, to be fair.
it's just it's they need to click next year. I think finally we're seeing them have a thought about long-term projects, and I think if Mbappe's not going to be part of the long-term projects, then get in someone who is going to be, and then just keep building this kind of young French identity which they're trying to install into that club and go. Because I actually think it could be a blessing. I know it sounds people are going to laugh and go, "What do you mean losing Mbappe? It's not a blessing in disguise." It maybe could be for the wider squad.
I think it's more of a pride thing, to be honest with PSG. I think Khalifi is determined not to see Real Madrid get one up on him. Yes. And I think that's the biggest thing. But I agree with you in a way that, look, okay, it's a bit like the Spurs situation. You're losing a Harry Kane. Where did the goals come from? But the team, and I'm not saying Spurs, they're happy. I'm not saying like, oh, Spurs are better without Harry Kane. But a team doesn't suddenly become worse because you lose 30 goals.
It's true. It requires other players to step up. And that's what we've seen with Spurs this season. You don't know, like Son's become such a leader again in that side. You don't know who's going to be the guy at PSG who'll go, you know what, Kylian's gone, but we're still PSG. We still represent this club. We can still do this. Like, they haven't looked any better in the Champions League this year, have they?
Worse.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. I don't think we'll give that one a hit or a miss, just because at this point I don't think any of us care enough for it to be rated. Okay, then let's move then on to our next one. You mentioned Spurs. We've already spoken a little bit about Timo Werner going there. Let's talk about one of the craziest actually sagas so far in January. 1 minute he was going to Spurs, then he's going to Bayern Munich. And then he's given his word to Spurs and has to honour it, he feels. And so he has gone there. Radu Dragusin, who's only 21 years old, obviously moving from Serie A to Tottenham Hotspur, who we've already spoken about, having a flying season. And again, feels like this is just another hit. Like, for a guy that's costing you 25 million euros, so around 20 million quid, plus 5 million euros in add-ons. So if he reaches everything, 23 million pounds in today's market, when we see centre-backs now going for double, if not triple that in the transfer market, is really solid. Like, they have great centre-backs in Romero, in Mickey van der Ven, but one of the things we noticed was the second they got injured, he didn't trust Eric Dyer, who again we'll get onto, but in came Royale, in came Davies at those positions. And I think getting someone in who is also a little bit different to their profile as well. He isn't as maybe good on the ball as Romero and Mickey van der Ven are, but in the air, physically, this guy towers above them all. And again, only 21 years old. We kind of said going into the January transfer window, I think a lot of people kind of agreed, Spurs just need to get in a centre-back, someone to help if there are injuries, so they don't have to go back to the fullbacks playing there. And overall, feels pretty good, right? Like, Spurs getting more players in for their depth. Spurs fans will be happy, won't they?
100%.
Yeah, you have to back the scouting department on this one. They clearly hit with Van der Ven, as you said, and Romero, so they know what they're looking for in the centre-back department. And yeah, I think we saw with Vicario, like, it was such a clever buy at such an amazing price. And I think that this maybe could be it again. And it's telling that Bayern Munich have come in for him too. That really does give a...
I was going to say, to be fair, the replacement they got for him, maybe not so tough.
Yeah, you're right. I was going to say that because it shows that big clubs are looking at this guy.
Yeah,
like, Genoa are sadly in this position where they can be
transfers
pillaged.
as well actually haven't been that great recently. They've been really...
Imagine being De Ligt right now. Going,
I exist,
like De Ligt's going, you're bringing Eric Dyer over me. Like, that is, and I don't even dislike Eric Dyer. I was touting him as a Tosin replacement at Fulham. I thought, well, if Spurs come and get Tosin, we might as well take Dyer and just have someone who can just knock the ball away. I think Dyer is... If you want to know more about Dragusin, you've got to look at what Ange doesn't like in Eric Dyer. And that's the idea that... He doesn't trust him being able to almost run backwards. He wants to play the high line. Yeah, Dragusin is quick and he's organised, and I think that's what Ange is looking for. Because to have just consistently played Romero over Dyer at centre half is it just shows that he just does not believe that Dyer's got the ability to recover the balls in certain situations.
I think when you've seen Eric Dyer play in this Ange system, you've noticed him a lot in this high line, kind of being the first one to try and get that extra yard and push it back when needed. And that really is just not what Ange wants at all. You've seen it numerous times, obviously, specifically against Chelsea when they were at 9 men still wanting to play there. I think this will be a hit. I don't think he'll be the starting centre-back. When Mickey and Romero are both fit, it's going to be them two.
Of course.
But maybe there's a game where they're playing up against a physical striker, and they need someone.
Look, man, when you're not playing Emerson Royale or Ben Davies at centre back, that's a hit already. Forget about who you're bringing
Davies
in.
Is all right. Davies is a pretty useful
guy. They've done good jobs.
He's all right, man. He's a good dude. But I think they can definitely. It's the emphasis on the squad, honestly. But I think you look at the history that Paratici has shown, especially in the Serie A market. He clearly has an eye for talent over there. I think the Vicario one is a great shout. Udogi as well come from Serie A as well. So
you reckon this is Paratici behind the scenes?
Yeah, Paratici with an ankle monitor on.
Allegedly.
Dragusin.
Allegedly.
That's why he's using his phone calls. Forget his family. He's sending it to Ange. Yeah, good. I think it'll be a good hit. I think so.
Okay, well, there we go. Spurs and their transfers so far all looking like hits. Let's talk about one that actually came out of the blue yesterday, really. It came out, I think the Times or the Telegraph were the ones to break it. Dominic Solanke to Newcastle.
Wow.
Now, obviously, Newcastle are looking to try and add to their squad in general. They have a lot of injuries happening all over the pitch. The forward line may be less so, really. Obviously, they've got Callum Wilson. They've got Isak. They've got Gordon. They're all kind of playing those positions. A few of them also play out on the wing. If there's really one position that I've said it in the last video, right wing is the place I think they need to go for. I just don't see this move happening, really. Like, Bournemouth, it would have to be a ridiculous amount of money for Bournemouth to let him go. And plus in January, which adds a January premium on top of it, plus to a Premier League club, premium on top of that. This fee looks... 60?
Extortionate, yeah. I actually think
70?
I actually think Newcastle's business, and it's a bit of hindsight because I think we were all praising the signing of Tonali, for example, and
that wasn't
the Harvey
their
Barnes.
fault either.
Of course. But kind of my bigger point to go past that is that I don't know if their profiling has actually been that great. Like Tonali, when you kind of look at what they already had, and again, this is hindsight, right? We all hyped it at the beginning, but seeing how it kind of worked out with Bruno and Joelinton, was it exactly what they needed? And then you look at Harvey Barnes, for example, when you already had Anthony Gordon. like you said correctly, Almiron on the right, that's a position that I would think they need to strengthen. And then again, you look at the Solanke thing. You have Callum Wilson there, who I think at the moment might be injured, is just coming back from injury.
He's
But
all constantly back and
Yeah.
forth.
Isaac likes to maybe drift on the left, but is striker really the main priority, especially at that price that Newcastle should be targeting? I'm a little questioned by that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Look, if other teams were interested in him, I think Chelsea obviously after a striker. Even if Arsenal were after a striker, you'd be a little bit more okay. You can understand the reasoning behind it. But for Newcastle, I don't see why. And just like for the price it's going to cost, it would be a crazy amount of money. And also, like, I do wonder sometimes if say he goes to Newcastle, does he even get in ahead of Isaac if he's playing at the front line?
You can't disregard competition and what that can do in the squads and how that can raise players. I mean, Solanke is a certified Premier League sort of centre forward.
Yeah,
Like,
fantastic.
really pleased for him actually after
Season's
such a
unbelievable.
difficult kind of.
But
There's a point where it looked like he wasn't going to make it.
But it also has only just happened.
Yeah.
Like
It really
you
is
were
a breakout season,
If you were
right?
one
Yeah.
of these clubs, like I do wonder whether you also got to sit there and go, okay, maybe we kind of let him have the season and maybe come back to this in the summer or the next January.
It's true, to be fair. Yeah.
Because how many times have we seen players have a nice 6 months, they get bought, and then it doesn't quite work out?
Yeah,
But that happens more.
I
often
think
than not.
that's fair enough, to be fair. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Bournemouth actually have a genuine, like, if they keep up the rate they've been winning games, they have a shot at like European football.
He's
crazy
got a
is that to
fantastic
say, by the
manager.
way?
Like he's done super well.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with a miss actually
I
on this
agree.
one. It's going to be a miss.
CDM,
If Newcastle
that's
were
what
to
they
go and do
need.
that.
Facts.
Any midfielder, to be quite honest, at this point, with the injuries that they've got going for them. And talking about midfielders, let's go on to one that a year ago I was really excited by him, and in the end he did really well defensively. But this year I think he stepped up a level. Amadou Onana, who's been linked to Arsenal. I don't think this move is going to happen either. But look, it's about the transfer rumours and about the situations if it did. He is a super exciting midfielder.
That's great.
Super exciting midfielder. When he first joined, he was already a defensive monster. But now I think he's levelling it up. Especially in this Everton side who have been kind of surprising this year and had things go against them and managed to claw it back. I think Amadou Onana is for his age, for his physicality, his profile, is someone in the next few years we're going to see get this big move for big money. And he's been linked to Arsenal, to United. He's been linked to Chelsea. Now been linked to Arsenal. This is a guy who I just think is incredible.
When you look really at where the game is going, especially in midfield, you look at the signings of Caicedo and Declan Rice. Players are getting more and more athletic.
Yeah.
You need ball winners. You need guys with long legs who cover a lot of ground. That is basically Onana in a nutshell. The guy, like you said, is a ball-winning machine, a dual monster. But when you look at what Arsenal need, I actually don't rate the signing, to be honest with you. I don't think that's exactly what I look at. And when I look at Arsenal and their midfield build right now, I don't see them as a team that struggles to win their 50-50s in midfield, that dominates midfields. I think they actually probably need a bit more going forward. So in terms of the Arsenal signing, I think it's actually a miss. I think that's not the player I would go for if I were them.
Really? So you think the striker's
Not even just the striker, but if you're looking for that left center mid profile, because I think the Havertz thing has been a disaster. I'd move on from that. But I don't know if Onana is really the person I'm bringing in to pair. And I know they had that kind of vision of Caicedo and Rice, but I think they need someone with a bit more gal going forward, to be honest with you, at that left center mid position.
Almost needs like peak Mason Mount, that kind of profile.
Yeah,
player.
or
Like,
a Dominic Solanke in there. Yeah, I don't know if Onana's the guy who would go to pair with Declan Rice in there.
I agree, because it's almost like the Ramsdale situation. I don't think you want to disrupt like Rice's position. Like, he's so important to that side. I think he's the most used player other than Saliba in that squad at the moment. So yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm not sure. Onana. Interestingly, I think for Newcastle, Onana would have been
brilliant.
He'd be perfect. But yes, Everton, given all their issues. And
losing him in January.
It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, but again, in the summer, this is a guy that's captained his country already. Like he is. I really like the way he's developing. I really do, and I think if he continues, it's going to be a really nice.
It was nuts when Everton signed him in the first place. We were looking at his numbers at Lille when he was, and then they just came out of nowhere and plonked what? It's actually quite a sensible transfer by their standards.
Yeah, for them, it's the best business they've done in years, man. Honestly,
they'll make a good bit of money. They'll make a good bit of money, that's for sure. But I can agree. A miss. Yeah. But keep an eye on this one in the summer. I think he.
How much would you spend on him? Well, what do you think is his transfer value?
So Everton want to make a profit, and they spent close to 40 million, if not 40 million, for him. And so I think that alone is probably going to make it go a little bit higher than you'd like it to. Like in an ideal world, you spend 60 million on this guy, but the issue is, and we kind of mentioned earlier, the issue is now when Caicedo is going for 100 million, like Everton have these price marks. They go, well, he's so young. he's got huge potential, and he's already Premier League, and he's physical. He's already got Premier League experience. Like you go, we're looking at 85, mate, 90 possibly.
Where is this sport going, man? Honestly,
if they get relegated, and it is a possibility that they get relegated, then there's going to be a fascinating bidding war for him. So they'll have to let him go.
You look at Maatsen's situation, kind of. Yeah, that's fair enough.
Romeo Lavia, becomes a bit of an interesting time there.
Lavia's been a good signing, hasn't he? Yeah,
played one game, got
and all the 80 minutes he played.
Bless him, man.
Wow.
Bless him. I do feel for him. But well, we're back to Chelsea. Let's do it then. Conor Gallagher been linked to Spurs. Conor Gallagher, 18 months left on his contract, so obviously goes into his final year next season. I think the ownership wants to get him on a new contract that suit their terms, maybe rather than his terms. One of the issues that I think you keep hearing about at Chelsea at the moment, pure profit. Because they've signed these guys that have cost 30, 40 million pounds. If they go and sell to Sassy for 50, say that happened, they only make 10 million back. They sell Conor Gallagher for 50, they get 50.
It's like the Mount situation.
Exactly, it is the Mount situation. And when Pochettino was asked about whether Chelsea need to sell players to buy players, he said they don't. They don't need to do that. Whether that's just talking to the media, you've seen that happen a million times, it wouldn't surprise me. But Conor Gallagher was very close to leaving in the summer, and I think a lot of Chelsea fans then would have been okay with it. I think now a lot of Chelsea fans would be against it because he has been Chelsea's best player. I think you feel slightly different to him in general.
Yeah, I like Cole Palmer, to be fair.
But I do think Gallagher has been one of Chelsea's best players. I think he has issues. I think he's sometimes a bit of like a headless chicken, which can really affect us on the counter and stuff like that. But he also has been one of our... It's funny because sometimes the mistakes he makes make him look great because he makes the recovery tackle perfectly. I just think it'd be mad to sell him right now.
I have the saying, when the land of the blind, the man of one eye is king. I feel like that's a bit of a situation of Conor Gallagher at the moment. Look, I understand his strengths, but I think his strengths suit a team, I was going to say lower down the table, which that's fair enough. That's where you guys are. But I think a team with more mid-table aspirations, I just don't see a team that's looking to be one that's progressive, that's positive on the ball, that wants to dominate football games, especially from a possession point of view. I don't know if Conor Gallagher is the midfielder that I go for. And I understand 100% that, he is one of your better players, but I also feel like he forces you to play in a bit more of a chaotic way, in a way that you don't always have real domination over games. So if I'm Spurs, I hear it, right? Because again, it's a situation similar to the one we just talked about. They have a lot of injuries in midfield. Sarr and Basuma have been out of the team. Bentancur now is facing a second long-term injury. Do you add another body in there who's probably better than Oliver Skip, to be fair to him? But I would really have to see the price tag, to be honest. 18 months on his contract. Look, you could get him a good price.
The rumors is about 50 million because
50 million for Gallagher. I'm good off that.
Because Chelsea only want to sell him for that amount. That's the amount where they'll be happy to
I think 50 million for Gallagher is a miss, in my opinion.
A miss.
Yeah.
Okay. Henners, what do you feel?
Yeah, I don't quite see why Spurs want him specifically.
Yeah.
But I do think I like Conor Gallagher. I think he's a good player, and I think Spurs will have looked at the way that he's stepped up in this Chelsea side and thought, oh, there is more. There's definitely more to him. Do you know what I mean?
He's added captain. He has been a better leader for Chelsea on the pitch as well.
He's a lot more rounded than when he went to Crystal Palace and scored a few nice goals.
I was a second striker, basically.
Yeah, I was a bit like, why is he's good? He's not, as you said, in a lower team. He looks very good. I actually think he's added more to his game this year. Like some of his work, not offensively, sort of
in the middle of the park.
In the middle of the park, I think. And considering that he wasn't really meant to be that guy, it was meant to be Caicedo, it was meant to be others. I think that the fact that he stepped up and said, "Look, I'll do it."
I think it's a bit of a McTominay situation at United, to be fair. Maybe he's not being played in his exact right role. Like maybe there's more to his game offensively if you unlock him. But
I think if everyone is fit, realistically, if everyone is fit and played in the right position, so Enzo isn't as far forward as he's been getting played at times. Does Gallagher start like Nkunku, Mudryk, Sterling,
where does
Madueke,
Lavia fit in there?
Lavia, is he starting? And so that might be a different question. I guess the issue is Chelsea have 13 injuries, and half of them are to the midfielders.
I'd snatch your hand off though if you give me 50 million for Gallagher. I'd snatch it and run to the hills.
I think he's one of the players that the crowd really connects with. You know,
and that is a big thing. I do think this is we were talking about the stadium difference between online and the stadium. Stadium love Gallagher,
of course.
These players are important,
and I do think the club need players where the academy, because Chelsea have a fantastic academy, where academy kids can look and go, oh, there is still a route. Because if I was an academy kid right now, I've just seen Mason Mount get chucked off because
Yeah.
for money, basically.
Yeah.
I've seen you sell Tomori. I've seen Ian Maatsen now go on loan. I looked at the squad now and I go, okay, you gave Levi Colwill the contract, nice, but you're now talking about Gallagher going. Like, what is this route?
To be fair, it's like we were talking about earlier, right? Sometimes there is more that goes into this stuff than what you see on the 90 minutes on the pitch.
Yeah.
So I do hear that.
When you look at Cole Palmer, his interviews, you can tell he just gets it. He gets what it means to play for Chelsea in a way that some of the other
Gallagher
players...
or Cole Palmer?
I'm talking about Cole Palmer.
Oh, okay.
And it's the point, like, you wouldn't have known that necessarily Cole Palmer would become a leader quite quickly in the dressing room. And I feel like the same with Gallagher. I think he's probably the one that looks around and goes, guys, he understands the Chelsea identity more than a lot of those imports that they've brought in so far. And I think you can't put a price on that at this moment in time with a Chelsea side that are really struggling and just not clicking in the way that they need to.
Well, 50 million might be that price, mate, by the looks of it. I don't... In terms of Spurs and Gallagher, hit or miss?
Miss for me.
Miss. Okay, you guys can have that because I'm not going to say anything about it.
Fair.
All right, let's talk about Joshua Kimmich. Obviously, been linked to a few clubs actually. Man City supposedly interested in the summer. The only one that's currently looking at him possibly in January is PSG.
That's the most PSG move of all time.
It is the most PSG move of all time. It actually shocked me when I looked at his age. Only 28 years old.
Yeah.
He has been obviously in that side for a
long
long time now since he was a youngster. And look, the move to Man City in the summer is something I actually think could be quite fun if it got to that stage. Do I think it will happen in January? No, but it's been interesting because apparently the relationship between Bayern and Kimmich is good, but he's not been very happy with Tuchel, and also feels like when he's been criticised, he's not been given like support from the club and by his manager. And it's weird. Tuchel does have that effect sometimes with players. We saw Goretzka also fall out with Tuchel as well, even though he does still play him as well. Supposedly he would prefer a Premier League move to any other league. Of course, it kind of makes sense, especially if someone his age and wants the money. It makes a lot of sense. But to PSG, what do we think? Obviously, they got a very young squad, especially in that midfield. A lot of youngsters. Spent a lot of money as well into building this young squad in the summer. I don't think it'd be a bad move. I just think waiting for the summer for Kimmich is the better move. If you get a Man City, you're laughing.
No, I definitely agree. Yeah, I feel like Kimmich right now is in a weird place in his career, especially at Bayern, because you have one manager telling him he's this, and he clearly doesn't agree. Like, he views himself as an out-and-out six, and I think the way Tuchel views his ideal six is not really in the same mold.
Yeah.
A PSG move could be interesting, because I truly don't believe they've even fully replaced Verratti. And although I wouldn't say Kimmich is an exact like-for-like replacement in that right, I think that could be a good transfer for both him and for PSG. And I mean, hey, living in Paris, it's not bad. But I would agree with you. I think that's a move that he should probably wait until the summer. And I think if a team like Manchester City comes in for him, he's laughing to the bank, man.
Oh, definitely. And I also wonder, like, even from Bayern's point of view, you're still in the Champions League. The Bundesliga isn't done. You've still got to fight a long time to try and stay to win it at the end of the season.
They're not even top.
Exactly. And so losing someone like Kimmich, who won dressing room leader, fans love, has the experience of being in this situation a million times, is going to be a big loss if you lost him in January. And so I think the money that would be needed for something like this would have to be huge, touching 90 million again, if not more.
There's no way this happens in January.
Nah, not chance.
It's just not a January transfer. No. I can see maybe in the summer him going, well, look, I've been at Bayern for so long. Maybe it's time for a new challenge. Obviously, if it looks like Guardiola's going to be at City for a long time, he would maybe look at that, because I don't think some of their midfield additions have set the world on fire, let's say. Kimmich is a natural upgrade, and a lot of those players coming in there. I also think Florian Wirtz is probably going to go to City at some point as well. That's my early shout. But yeah,
we've said that for a while, yeah.
So, but yeah, I just don't think this is happening in January. There's, like you said, there's so much to play for in the Bundesliga. Harry Kane needs that trophy. So
To be fair too, if I look at a team that like screams Joshua Kimmich, like I feel like Barcelona is just like, that's just a team that I feel like I can already see it. Barcelona signs Kimmich, man. I could see it though. Like that's the signing they would make.
They'd have to sell the new stadium with them before they've even built it. Okay, one final player I want to touch upon. Not maybe the biggest of names compared to some of the others on this list. Max Kilman.
Oh yes.
Max Kilman, who has been linked to West Ham. I think if West Ham sell Agard in the January window, they would look to try and bring in Max Kilman, who is I actually really rate Max Kilman. I think he's fantastic. Left-footed centre back, really like strong. I think he's 26 years old now, so a really solid age. Good on the ball. Yeah. Kind of got a lot of features that you're happy with. I think it was him as well that grew up playing futsal.
Was it him?
Yeah, I think so.
Impressive.
And so he kind of this is where a lot of that kind of has come from. And so I think it'll be interesting. I think it'd be a very good move if West Ham can get him. I think it'd be a hit. The issue is, again, in January, in a squad that already has a small squad compared to the others, Wolves just aren't going to sell him.
I remember, was it him that Napoli were after a few summers back, and I think they bid for 40 million, and Wolves didn't want to sell him.
It was this summer.
Was it this summer then?
This summer.
I think Max Kilman is a really, really good player, man. Honestly, when you look at like more of the lesser spoken about defenders in the league, I think he's right up there. If I'm Wolves, I'm keeping him 100% till this summer. But if West Ham could get him kind of around that squad that they're building, that's an acquisition right there. But I don't see it happening this window.
Yeah, I'd be quite shocked. I think it's almost. I sometimes think Max Kilman doesn't get the praise that he deserves. It's almost like if he was playing in a Brighton squad, suddenly everyone's eyes would be like, "Oh my god!" Like, and obviously that's half because Brighton are playing.
To be fair, you can say that
football.
about a lot of Wolves players. To be fair,
true. Yeah, Pedro Neto, obviously another one. Huang Hee-Chang is having a fantastic season. What are your thoughts on Big Max Kilman, Hennes?
Yeah, I think he's great. It would be a brilliant West Ham signing. I mean, I almost think he could aim a bit higher than West Ham. And yeah, I mean, he is that good. You're right, and it's a shame about Aguerd. I think he's like shown moments of being class, but it's not quite worked out for him there. But yeah, if Moisey can get in Kilman, then
again, it says I think the report says something like around 45 million. I think this costs 60. Like in January for Wolves, like. Again, we've mentioned January so many times, but I just think it's
fair. They need money. They're not their financial situation isn't great at Wolves,
but not to the point where they need to sell. Like that was the whole point in selling some of the other guys they sold in the summer. Not to the point they have to sell Max. Like if you're O'Neill and already dealt with what's happened, and you've managed to have a really good season so far,
a great season,
and then you go and sell Max Kilman, you'd be sitting there going, "Lads, give me a break here. I can't perform miracles." But yeah, look, if West Ham can get him, just don't think it's going to happen. I've got a couple of quick fire questions then, guys, before the end of the video. First one might take a little bit longer than quick, but should Chelsea sack Poch?
Yes.
No, they should not.
There you go.
Look.
And getting who?
I think this is part of the issue.
I think this is part of the issue,
and because also people, I think I saw someone mention, is it Slot? Is Slot his name? Yeah, and then a couple of
Slot,
like on his level, and it was like, well, we've already done the Potter technique, which didn't quite work out because he wasn't this kind of big character in the changing rooms. There are definitely issues with Poch, I think, at the moment. We mentioned it with Ian Maatsen, the continuation to kind of play players out of position and not give them other chances. Again, maybe part of that is due to above having pressure. And then also some, against Middlesbrough, after you've lost, coming out and saying, I thought we were all right. Like, this is
straight out of the Tanag tactic.
It's just not what people want to hear, is it? It's not what people want to hear. And so I think there are slight issues on that front. I am just kind of bored as a Chelsea fan of constantly sacking a manager, getting in someone else, sacking him the week after. Like, there are bigger issues than the manager right now.
For sure, definitely.
And I think they need to be fixed before any idea comes close to Poch. Like, the guy, and I think he has to deal with a lot of injuries. Like, if he had his ideal squad, would this be the exact same? Would he still be playing Colwell at left back? Would Colwell even be starting? That could be a whole issue in itself. And so, yeah, I think that's where maybe I'm full. I would say no. End of the season, and maybe this time next year, it could be a very different conversation.
Yeah, you got to look at, if you're a manager and you're looking at that Chelsea job under the new ownership, and you've seen what's happened to Potter, if you've seen like even Poch's his reputation taking a hammering, there's not loads of managers that are going to go, oh yeah, I fancy that one.
You reckon? 4 managers in a season and a half.
Look, I've seen United fire like 7 in the space of 6 years, but I just feel like clubs like that at that level with that amount of money available, and like you're talking about a guy like Arne Slot or potentially a Ruben Amorim, I think like that's a natural upgrade. I still think Chelsea will always be able to attract that level of manager. I just look at Pochettino, right?
Xabi Alonso is linked, I think, as well.
Alonso, I think he's got 3 clubs. That one is no chance. You got Liverpool, Real, or Bayern. Take your pick, man. Chelsea are low in that regard. But I just look at the amount of money that they've spent on those players. Naturally, you're going to prioritize the players that you've invested so much over a manager. And I think my biggest issue with Pochettino does he know how to get the best out of a guy like Enzo Fernandez? So far, the jury's out on that one. Sure, you can look at Enzo, but again, you're going to prioritize Enzo being a top talent over Poch being the guy. You look at the forward line. I look at Chelsea so many times in these games, get to the opposition penalty box, and they just look devoid of ideas. And I understand, okay, that has to do... it's kind of like the United situation where you understand that there's bigger problems in the manager, but when it comes to a 90-minute football game, there are things that are in the manager's control. And I look at a lot, identifying player profiles, finding the right team 3-4 months into the job. I have to look at Pochettino for that.
It's also quite telling his interviews where he's come out and said we're not a charity. Clearly, like agents are getting at him for not playing certain players. Like you don't know what's going on behind the scenes there because all these players have signed up to mega contracts and it's not working out.
Even the way he dealt with Madueke, like there was definitely points Madueke wasn't playing. He wasn't even injured. He wasn't in the squad. Then he managed to bring him back and he did pretty well.
The thing is, you see the performances every now and then. Like that City game wasn't an isolated incident. There have been performances where Chelsea have played really well, and it's just trying to figure out how to get that on a consistent basis.
We are better than we were last year.
Yeah,
we are better than we were last year. Well, I honestly do believe
hard not
that.
to be.
I mean, you'd be surprised. And I think board-wise, I think a lot of them are thinking like, well, when Nkunku is back, when this guy's back, when so on and so forth, it might get a little bit better. I think Chelsea just want to guarantee some sort of European football next year.
Yeah, you've got to go all in on this League Cup. I mean,
legit.
I would love to see it.
Is it
not
conference or is it?
I think you get Europa League if you win that.
Okay.
If you're outside,
I think you do get Europa League.
You get Europa if you're outside and you can't qualify naturally for it. But I would love to see it. It's never going to happen. Mourinho ending at Roma. That's definitely going to bring him back, baby.
That would be the worst thing to happen for both Mourinho and for Chelsea.
That's what I want to see.
Yeah, fair. So just the sequel and
Mourinho and Todd.
Have you seen Mourinho do a few punditry things recently? I'm just like, you know what? After Roma, mate. Just go pundit. Become an international manager and get paid millions and millions by Sky.
Jose is my favorite personality in football ever, but I just think he has to stop taking these jobs, man. It's hurting me seeing it go burst in flames every single time, man.
There were moments of Roma where you're like,
he's doing all right.
Moments.
Okay, and then we'll see. We'll see what happens with Mourinho. Next one quickly. Would you change your top 4 predictions now?
From the start of the season?
From the start of the season.
Absolutely.
I had United in the top 4.
I had my original top 4 predictions were Arsenal, City, Liverpool, United.
And you would change it to?
City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Villa.
Okay. It's not. I mean, it's not. I think it's interesting.
Well, I have Villa coming from nowhere and United
Villa,
falling down the league.
I had Villa 6th.
I was going to say, surely not top 4. You're a
It's
visionary.
not terrible. It's really good.
It wasn't great.
They laughed at me. They said, Henry, you're crazy. So, I said,
turns out you were. They finished even higher.
I had Brighton dropping down this year. Yeah, I still think Spurs are going to outlast Villa over the stretch. Like, Villa have shown a bit more vulnerability.
I think I had Chelsea in the top 4.
Not anymore though, right?
Don't remember the end. Definitely not now. Definitely not. If I've been optimistic, I'll say 7. We'll see what happens on that front. One final one then, guys. One final one. Who is your favourite player to watch currently? I mentioned it before we started shooting. For me, Antoine Griezmann. I definitely don't watch him as much as I probably want to. Caught a bit of him yesterday. Just the goals outrageous. He is fantastic. He's someone I actually want to see playing the Premier League.
Atletico Madrid's now top goal scorer ever. So shout out to him.
Fantastic. Yeah, really nice to see that happen. I'd love him to get a move to the Premier League. Like just a guy who you're playing wherever you need to, and he just does a job. I can't still get over. I still don't think it was spoke about enough. Griezmann's centre midfield performances for France in the World Cup. Guy's a freak.
His IQ is just. I mean, he's kind of changed positions now so many times. Started off as a winger at Sociedad to now this false 9 for France, and now he's basically playing midfield, and that's just testament to his
I also
IQ.
enjoy as well watching a footballer have fun on the pitch and like enjoying whatever role he's playing. Might have lost that a little bit when he was at Barca, but it's definitely back right now.
And Simeone just knows how to get the best.
He really does. But that's my one. You can't take him. Sorry.
Where you go?
Who are yours?
I've got a few.
Also, can't say Mbappe. Mbappe's too easy.
I got mine if you want to think about it.
I've got Lautaro Martinez. I love that guy. I think he's wicked, and that Inter team is so good. I think it's
class, man.
Manager too, Inzaghi. It's they are have been so smart in the market, bringing in some old heads, getting a few young guys.
Thuram has been a bargain for free.
He's great. I love Martinez, but it is really biased. But I just do love João Palhinha.
That's fair enough.
As like a just destroyer.
You know what? You can have a full of
bias.
What very often you get to say it.
I watched him live yesterday. his timing is so good. The way, that block he did in the Arsenal game where he like celebrated and he came sliding in. The guy's a monster.
We've got you on the weekend at Stamford Bridge, and I'm not looking forward
we do.
to it.
Yeah. And if we lose him, we're in deep trouble. But it's just nice to see a guy that is just there just to be chaos. Just to smash
Tackling
people.
midfielder.
Yeah, it's really important. But yeah, him and Lautaro, I would say. Also the Girona winger, Salvio, the guy that is basically like putting them on a pedestal at the moment. He's really
the
exciting.
Ukrainian striker as well.
Dovbik, baby.
Smashing it.
Me and Mikey, on a channel which I'm not going to mention, both said he was our surprise player to watch in La Liga, and he's coming up trumps.
Yeah, that's a huge shout if you said that. Mine is Jamal Musiala. Man. Honestly, when you talk about like throwback players that restore the feeling, right? I love the guy, man. He's just individualism personified in terms of like the balance that he plays with, the ability to kind of just like weave in and out. He's just, for me, a throwback number 10. I love watching the guy play, man.
No, I think it's a fantastic one. Well, let us know all about your thoughts of this episode in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you haven't already, smash that like button. I'll really, really appreciate it. Make sure you check out the boys right here. All their socials will be in down below. This won't be the first time or the last time you see them on the channel. I'm definitely going to make sure of that. If you haven't already, check out the last video put out. The next video should be this time next week, unless I somehow get another one out. We'll see what happens. I'm not too sure just yet. But thank you so much. See you later. Thank you. Bye.